Good evening, everyone. It's C with C. Thanks for coming to chat with me. We are live here for the Monday meetup. We're every Monday at 8 p.m. just for this season until December. So you have content every Monday evening. You have content, whether it be a live stream or a premiere. And today we are live streaming and we are talking about cruising internationally. If you can't tell, the title is Let's Go International. We are talking about cruising in particular internationally. So get on in here and let's chat it up because, as you all know, the last Monday I premiered my Celestial Journey vlog where we were, I showed everyone cruising to Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Where else? We went to Bahrain, Oman, Sarbana Yachts, which is a whole different, really unique cruising experience. And I did it on a cruise line that most people have never heard of. So basically going to recap that vlog, which is doing really well on YouTube. I got a lot of new subscribers. So if you are a new subscriber from the Celestial Journey vlog, welcome in. Thanks for popping by and welcome to the community. So we have first here, people are slowly trickling in. We got Gina's World saying, hey fam. Hi, Gina's World. And thanks for being a channel member. Thanks for being here. I hope you had a really good Monday or at least start to your week. Who else we got? We got Ken Hill saying, hello, pretty eyes. Hi, Ken. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. I feel like I haven't seen you in a bit, Ken Hill. So thanks for popping by. We got, who else? On the go with YOLO saying hello and happy Monday. Hi, YOLO. Happy Monday to you too. I was telling YOLO that I noticed Royal Caribbean is making some. I know we're not going down the casino rabbit hole today, friends. I'm not going to do it. But Royal Caribbean emailed me, probably also your travel advisor, today speaking, talking about they made some, what is it called, enhancements to their casino booking program. So I saw that and I was texting YOLO like, hey, did you see this? Who else we got? MH Family Adventures is in the building. Welcome in, Rockwell. Got to hang out with her this morning for her Monday afternoon live Q&A. And then also hang out with Parkers on the Go today at 12 p.m. as they were doing their Ship to Shore live. So a lot of good live streams. I appreciate y'all both for going live on Mondays because that helps me get through my day. And particularly on Mondays right now while I'm teaching, which is why we have these 8 o'clock live streams until about December or so. I'm teaching at a local university. So our usual 7 o'clock spot is going to be until 8 until about December 8th or so. I got to educate. I believe the children are our future. So teach them well and letting them lead the way. We got Seth Stone in the building. He's saying, what up, C in chat? What up, Seth Stone, my good DMV cousin? Good to see you in the building. We got Monet to the T with her own theme song, Mo to the T to the. She's here saying happy Monday to me in the chat. Yes, happy Monday, Monet to the T. And it's, can't believe it's like we starting to get fall. I wore a sweater dress to work today. So it's happening for sure. It feels like the what is it? The end of the year is rolling through. We got gardening with Skinny Boy Randy. Hey, Randy. Randy, you will be so disappointed in me right now. I have these flower pots that are still yet holding on, and I need to plant something for the fall, Randy. So let me know what's good things to plant for the fall. I have these planters in front of my house that I need to refresh. Who else we got here? On the go with Yellow says, I didn't look yet. I will check. Okay, no worries. So tonight's our theme is cruising internationally. And I wanted to, I think after I've cruised so far from international ports, so meaning cruising from somewhere that is not a Florida port. And I wanted to give my insight because at this point I have cruised out of Europe twice. So I've cruised leaving Turkey, I've cruised leaving Rome, and I have cruised leaving Qatar. And I really think that it's like, I don't know, there's just some tips or things to share with cruising, leaving internationally that you should be mindful of. Honestly, I think I'll get straight to the point. Honestly, I think after doing 3 international cruises, I think I'm a Caribbean cruiser. I think, but I wanted to share just some tidbits on what it's like to cruise internationally. We got more people coming in and say hello. So Parker's on the Go is here saying, oh, I'm supposed to put this on Do Not Disturb. Let me put it on D&D. Parker's on the Go is in the building saying hello, and I was talking about y'all's Ship to Shore live stream. I got to hang out with Parker's on the Go a little bit this weekend as they were here in the DMV in Baltimore. So got to ride up there to see them do their presentation and learn how to edit. So yeah, if y'all need any editing, looking for an editor, hit up Siobhan Parker. I think she has reasonable rates. And does a really good quality job with editing your YouTube videos if you are in the market for outsourcing your YouTube editing. Randy says coming soon, folks are speaking of yellow. Hey, travel stewards, welcome in. I was watching y'all Celebration Key vlog earlier today. It was cool I liked y'all's pretty much level approach to Celebration Key. I appreciated y'all y'all like, we are not comparing this private situation to anybody else's private situation. And I appreciated that. Like, let it stand in its own right. So I enjoy watching that video. And if you haven't watched any of the Travel Stews content, make sure you pop over there. It makes me really interested. She loves cruising internationally. We know. Rockwell just brought a group back from Greece and is already, I think, hit a record with selling out another Greece trip. So if you are interested in selling to Greece and you don't want to go by yourself and you want to go with some folks who have done it before at a reasonable cost, hit up MH Family Adventures. For me, I think I want to fly into some of these destinations. But I see the benefit too in cruising. And I think I'm also become particular about my ports. So I'll start with my first time cruising internationally, which was not a Florida port, was leaving from Turkey on Regent Seven Seas Voyager. I think a piece of it has to do with the start to your international cruise, like where you're leaving internationally. And I would say like the convenience to the cruise port is one thing. And what the amenities are around the cruise port. So for me, Turkey was a pretty city, like it was a pretty well connected cruise port. Whereas, where did I leave from now? That Czechia situation, not my favorite. Something about that 45-minute ride to Rome, I don't know. But I do think I have a preference for like the cruise ships that leave like the 20 to 30 minute from the airport. So like a Barcelona, like a Turkey situation. That I don't know what it is about Czechia. I think it's just too industrial for me. Who else we got here? And Mickey's Adventure says, good night. Hi, Mickey. She says, happy Monday. Welcome in. Parkers Go says, we appreciate you popping up. No problem. If y'all are ever in the DC area, let me know. I know people have reached out for tips for visiting DC. I've been able to meet up with the Parkers a couple times when they came through Baltimore. So it's all about connecting. And we got to meet Keisha Hustle. I don't know if she'll be in the chat today, but it was cool to meet another YouTuber and supporter. So that was awesome. Mickey says, make sure y'all match the number of participants in the chat with the thumbs up. Yes. And tonight we are talking about cruising internationally, meaning you're leaving from a destination that's not your Florida port, your domestic ports, and things just to think about, because I wrapped up a series on Celestial Journey, which was a cruise line that was new to me, has really great itineraries for it. But I will say after getting off of Celestial, I was kind of like, it made me think like, do I have a preference? And I think I'm a Caribbean girl, but I also see the benefit in the international cruising. And I just want to drop some, I guess, tidbits, things you should think about when cruising internationally. On the Go Yellow says, yes, I think I really love international cruising. Ooh, y'all love it. No problem. It makes sense. I'm enjoying that more than Caribbean at this point, but I love the Caribbean too. It makes sense she just loves cruising. Definitely, for sure. So my first time cruising internationally, so I went to Turkey. And where did we go? It was from Turkey to Croatia, Turkey to Croatia. Then I can't remember all those ports. But Croatia was cool, but it's that whole piece about like sometimes you're international, you have to be prepared to. I think I like with the Caribbean is like you get to walk off the ship and you're kind of like there is a port, there are some things to do. A lot of times you're cruising internationally, you have to be mindful of, be prepared. So pull in enough time for you to give yourself to get to like wherever you're going. Because a lot of times when you get off the ship, you're going to have to catch like another shuttle to get to where you're going. So it's not going to be a lot of times like, you pull up in a, either like a Nassau, or you pull up in like a Puerto Plata or like a San Juan, and there are going to be a bunch of things right there. You're going to have to give yourself time to, usually it's going to be like a shuttle to get you off the ship and onto where you need to go. So you want to build in time for that. And I also say you want to build in some resources, because we learned something interesting while I was selling on Celestial. And we'll get into that more too. Park is on the go. It says, "Hey YOLO and Travel Stews. Welcome in, welcome in." Who is this? On the go, Yellow says, "Speaking is POTG. Folks are speaking, folks are speaking." South Stone says, "Bless you. Greece may have been one and done for me, even though we didn't." Wait, you didn't get to go to Mykonos? What happened? It was too choppy or too windy? Yeah, so I'm like going through 3 different cruises. Maybe I should just start with kind of going just through Celestial. Okay. So for leaving out of Qatar, I can't remember how to say it. You have to be prepared for, like, there was a small barrier for me trying to communicate to my Uber driver, like, exactly where I was going. So there are going to be places that, are going to know exactly, what a cruise port is, what a cruise terminal is. I think my safety thing for anytime I get in the car, whether even if it's Uber and I have the address loaded already, I always have the address written down somewhere, or at least somewhere to show him. Sometimes I don't trust my phone because I'm like, I get sometimes bad service. So I like to make sure I have like the address in my notes, or have a screenshot of the address, so I don't have to search for it. As soon as I get in the car, it's already readily able to go. So for Celestial Journey, the port, I really enjoyed that I got to leave from Doha. I will say, now Doha is a destination that I can go to over and over and over again. I highly recommend, like, if you are going anywhere across the world, tag on a couple days in Doha. After they hosted the World Cup, they have really like kind of they've expanded, but they've also kept some of the authentic feels. Whereas I sometimes feel like Dubai has like leaned a little commercial. Doha keeps some of the authenticity, but also it's still cheap to navigate, and still has some, like, just the cultural elements, but also some of the luxe elements, where beautiful hotels, nice man-made beaches, those kind of things. So that's kind of a start, like thinking about not everyone is going to, like, depending on which destination you are sailing out of, frequently is not, they're not heavy on cruising. So there might be a bit of a language gap or barrier into communicating with your driver exactly where you are going. Unless it's like Rome, where when I cruised on Disney this summer, I was able to, set up the cruise transportation. So I basically landed in Rome, and even though Civitavecchia cruise port is like 45 minutes, hour away, Disney, and then there are a couple of other cruise lines, they readily have available the signage, etc. And usually I know for Disney in particular, some of the hotels, if you go with the hotel that's like, I guess, part of the Disney package, or, part of the land and sea portion for Disney, they will actually pick you up from that hotel. And take you to the cruise port, whereas you don't have to navigate. Because even I think Civitavecchia, even with the metro, you only can get so close to the Civitavecchia cruise port because it's kind of industrial. It's very secure. So you want to make sure that the cab that you get in, the car that you get in, has the access to get into the cruise port, etc. And I think there's like a light rail, but then even then you have to still get to where you're going. So I would always say, like, whereas maybe a Barcelona, you're only like 20 minutes away from the airport, very accessible. So you want to kind of do a little bit of research to figure out, where you're going, how close it is to the cruise port, what are the accessibility options. Always keep a written copy of the address readily available so that folks can get access to, or that you can share with people, break that communication barrier and share people exactly where you're going. On a go, let's get into the comments a little bit. On a go, Yellow says, Istanbul has amazing cruise port. It does. Istanbul does. So I cruise on Region 7 Seas out of Istanbul. And first off, the itinerary, I think we were in Istanbul overnight while on the ship. So I was able to have like a full almost day and a half in Istanbul on the ship, and going back. You can go back and forth. But immediately around Istanbul's cruise port, there are tons of restaurants, there are shops. One of the world's oldest, or one of the, I guess, one of the best known hammams is like literally in walking distance right across the way. There are bars, there are restaurants, there's music, there's hookah. So if you want a cruise port that's international, that doesn't feel like super industrial, and it's well connected, there's a light rail that runs through the Istanbul cruise port. Now, be mindful that that light rail gets a little packed sometimes, but it's very well connected. So I appreciated that about, for sure, about Istanbul's cruise port. Who else we got? MH Adventures asking Seth, why one and done, Seth? And I will say, what did I do? I know personally, I cruise. I did a Greek cruise this summer, but I did mine out of Rome, so I did not leave the Piraeus cruise port. I do know the Piraeus cruise port seems to, like, it has a lot of ship traffic. It has a lot of, now it did spark my interest in flying into Greece and catching a ferry to like the out islands, which I think is a whole system that I could navigate. But I have not like physically like did the embarkation process from Piraeus, but I have had Greece or Athens as a stop. And something you have to be mindful of, which has me to like my next point, is be prepared for when you're doing international excursions, particularly, or excursions on an international cruise. Though you're probably going to be on the bus a long time, like throughout the day. So I know something to be mindful of, like, I think I did a excursion from particularly Greece to a beach club. And even with the excursion going to a beach club, I think we were on the bus for about an hour, which cut down into the actual beach club time. I think we were only actually at that beach club for like 3, maybe 4 hours. That was my Disney cruise. I know some of my table mates, they had bus excursions that were like 13 hours, 14 hours. So it's going to be the bulk of your day. It's going to be a lot of energy. Not necessarily if you want to visit things and you want to visit things and not necessarily feel like you're totally by yourself. I definitely think that like cruising is internationally is a idea, but if you're cruising for like relaxation, you're going to be mindful of like those are like high intensity days. You're going to be out and about, unless you decide like, hey, this port or that port, I might stay on the ship just so you can have a day to rest, so you don't feel like everything is like go, 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 go. So that's just something to be mindful of. It's not the cute. Sometimes, when you're Caribbean cruising, sometimes those excursions are like 3 hours, 4 hours. Sometimes with some of your international destinations, you're going to be on the bus for like 2 hours, and then you get to wherever you're supposed to tour. Mickey says she's getting on y'all. Mickey says 23 people watching, only 10 thumbs up. Dang, y'all. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you can. I know some of your hello television watchers. I believe 70% of y'all watch from their television. So if you get opportunity, pick up your phone, hit the thumbs up. Or when we're done with the live stream, hit the thumbs up. It just tells the algorithm that this is something worthwhile listening to. On and go at YOLO says, I just think I like international travel, period. Totally understand. Yeah, and I honestly was kind of thinking, like, for instance, the cruise on Celestial, like, for instance, Dubai and Abu Dhabi are literally a 45-minute bus ride away from each other. How do I know? Because I flew into Abu Dhabi one time and literally caught a bus to Dubai. However, on a cruise, it's a little spread out so that, you're in Dubai a couple of days, then you had, or at least somehow Celestial did their itinerary. We were in Dubai, and then we literally got on the ship, and the ship went around the corner to Abu Dhabi. Now, technically, you can just catch a bus for like an hour and just be there. So it's something for you to think about of like, do you want more time, or is a day and a half okay for you? Whereas you could have done, a long layover, 2-3 days, knock out both Dubai and Abu Dhabi, at a more like, pace catered to you. You don't have to worry about getting back and forth to the port. So again, it's all about preference. Just kind of, just sharing things that, like, as I was reflecting, particularly after I got off Celestial, I was just kind of like, you know what? I think I learned I am a ship person, and B, I am like I could just cruise the Caribbean, and I think I would prefer just to fly into most of my destinations. Now, I do think cruising gives you a nice overview of all the destinations while you're there. Now I do think though the happy medium will be for me is that river cruise situation because I love that all those ports like literally drops you off in the middle of town versus you having to get a cab or grab a shuttle bus or something like that. So I don't know, just kind of throwing information out there for those of you who are spreading your wings for international cruising, just so you don't get shocked when you go and you're like, wait a minute, they pull me into a shipyard. Like, how do I get out here? What do you mean there are no taxis? Don't miss the shuttle. Make sure you catch those hours. So those kind of things. Yola D says she's similar. She's a Caribbean preferred cruiser. Mickey's Adventure says, I love international travel and cruising. Awesome, awesome. Cool beans. We got some both and people. Sydney Stephan says, hey, Carlene in chat. Sorry I'm late. No problem. You're here. Yola D says the flights are long. So that is something that you're going to have to be mindful of when you're ready to, try a cruise itinerary that's not your typical Florida. Be prepared for your long and expensive flights. That's just something to consider. For me, I definitely try to do those flights that are in the evening hours. So when you are going international, try to get that like what was it? When I did Rome, it was literally 8.5 hours from DC to Rome Fiumicino Airport. I mean, it's not the best sleep, but I was able to get probably like 4 hours of uninterrupted sleep at some point on the flight. But it's definitely something to factor in. If you're the person who doesn't like flying, doesn't like confined places, you just want to, quick little whatever to Miami, 2-hour flight, 3-hour flight versus an 8 to 10-hour flight. I'm trying to think, when I went to Istanbul, did I have a layover? I think I did. So some of your stops are going to require a layover. When I did Celestial, I broke up my South Africa flight back home. So which would have been like a 24-hour flight. I flew from South Africa to Doha, spent a week cruising through what they call them, the GCC, the Gulf Coast Council, I believe is what it was called. Somebody was those the Emirates, basically. I broke it up with a 7-day cruise and then I came on home. So yes, definitely got to take the flights in. And there's a number of things that you might want to consider with flights. Are you medically sound to do a flight? Are you prone to clotting? Just different things. Or do you want to save a little extra money so that you can fly in like a Comfort Plus or a business situation so that you can, fly comfortably? So just things you might want to consider. And then just the fluctuations of flights, from high season to low season. Gina's World says, I enjoy sea days in some Mediterranean. European cruises are very port heavy. I'm not a fan of that. So yeah, you're going to be, some of those itineraries are back to back to back. So when I cruised from all of my international cruises, actually, there might be 1 or 2 sea days in the itinerary, but you're going to be, I've done 3 so far, between leaving out of Istanbul, leaving out of Rome, and leaving out of Doha. Be prepared that you're going to be able to go to port to port to port. However, you can break that up by saying, okay, is this a port that I may be okay with skipping? So that's something that you may also want to consider, or, skip it because maybe you'll be back on that side of the world, or you're like, you know what, I may never be back on this side of the world. I'm just going to live it up and then get home and rest. So just be mindful about that. Sig the Solo Cruiser says, hey, Sig, everybody in chat. Hey, Sig, welcome in. Yola D says, now, the way that you can avoid the port heavy is take a transatlantic. And I see that you're saying it doesn't have enough port stops, Yola D. That is a point. If you want to catch port stops, you might want to consider, you may not want to consider transatlantic. However, if you want to consider rest, so if you are getting on a cruise to kind of rest, relax, decompress, you may want to try your transatlantic because it's going to be a little longer. It's going to give you more time to explore the ship. Usually those sailings aren't super crowded. And a lot of times those sailings are at a really good price because frequently people, one, you're not paying a whole bunch of port taxes and fees. Like for instance, I think I saw like Travel Yes We See is, I can't remember, going to Spain or coming from Spain, doing a transatlantic, and they had like 7 sea days. Well, the port, not as port heavy, means less port fees, more time to explore the ship. So like for instance, Legend of the Seas is coming over from what is it? I think Legend will be in Barcelona. I'm getting wrong. Where is Legend starting when it starts in the mid next year? Or is it the year after next? I think it's next year. Um that transatlantic will be a good time to hop on because that big old ship will give you a lot of opportunity to kind of explore while you're, there. Now, you also got to be mindful of transatlantic. You're crossing the Atlantic, and that thing can be rough and misty. We got Steph Stone saying that he enjoyed himself. So Steph said it was one and done for Greece. He said, I enjoyed myself, but specifically the port stops we hit, I don't see myself learning anything new about the cities. And I cruise specific for more sea days. Yeah. That was kind of for me, like I had already had a land-based trip to Greece. So I think if I were ever to do like a Greece cruise again, I do want more time in Mykonos. But I'm also kind of like, can I just ferry hop and do multiple islands? I think I need to price that out to see like what the cost difference if I were to do ferry, fly in, catch ferries, do hotels on the islands, or does it make more sense to like do like a Virgin Voyages where you have longer time in port? And we got a big bad super chat. Thank you, Will. He said he's just showing just a little love. That is more than a little love, Will. That's a lot of love. And I appreciate you for supporting my channel. And I frequently see you supporting so many other creators, Will, not just being present, but also financially. So appreciate your super chat and for being here on Monday. Much appreciated. The love is felt for sure. I think the last time you gave me a super chat, I did something very inappropriate. And as you can see, I'm not on that vibe this evening. It was Kristen's fault. Hey, Just Renee, she's here. Hey, I just saw you have a picture that was floating around the internet. Your Bali picture that said you were with the flowers. It says you are cancer free. I did not know how to like get in contact with you to show you, but somebody had a picture of it on Facebook. This lady did. And it was getting a lot of likes. Now, she did not say that it was her picture. She was giving you props and, basically saying like she was so grateful that you were, done with your cancer free, like you were cancer free. But I was like, that ain't her. But she did not say that she stole it, but it was a lot of likes and shares on that post. So beautiful Bali pic. And I'm gonna have to pick your brain. Well, I don't know. We were supposed to go to Bali next year, but it looks like Bali has been subbed out for some other Asian countries. Next Labor Day, it looks like a chance I'll be in Asia. We'll see. MH Family Adventure says, understood, Steph. Love port intensive. So I'll be back in Greece a few more times. And so, Rockwell, give us that perspective about the port intensive approach. Because I know those of us who are kind of like, we like the laid back style, don't give us a lot of cruise port. We are sea day people. Tell us about the benefit of, if you don't mind, like in the chat, like tell us, what do you think the benefit of like doing the port intensive, knock it out day after day approach to cruising. Mo Taylor says, this is great information. I've always wanted to cruise abroad, but nervous about language and culture barriers. Wow. Okay. So I would say like, if you are nervous about language and culture, I would say actually then start with the Greece cruise. The Greek people are very kind, very nice. English is widely spoken. I would not, if you're worried about culture, Rome is not going to be my first one to recommend to you. As if you're Avatar, you look like a Black man. I'm not making a sweeping assumption, but frequently I've had people encounter issues in Rome. And So I would say like if you're nervous about that, you might want to have a little more seasoning under your belt. Unless you do like me, I literally went straight from. Well, no, don't do like me. That was a bad one. I literally flew in the day of my cruise from DC, went overnight and landed in Rome, and then just basically caught the cruise shuttle to the what is it, to the port. Um, I would say like you can navigate Greece pretty easily by yourself. And the Greek people are they're so nice. I think they're very well aware of other cultures. Particularly like in Athens, that area had been conquered by a few different nations before. So like there's a bit of a mix where like um I know personally, well, I don't want to deter anyone, but like I know there are some places that um you might want to know a little more about the culture before you pop over there. Now, something you also can think of is when you're booking your cruise to, using either your, a lot of times cruises will have, what is it, pre-cruise accommodations that you can link. So a lot of times those pre-cruise accommodations, they'll make sure that you get from the cruise, hotel, the shuttle will pick you up at the hotel and then get you to the port so you don't have to navigate a ton by yourself. But I will also say, as travelers, a part of the travel experience sometimes is not always being comfortable, being okay with the flub ups, being okay with even like some of the not so great things that might happen. Um, so, the only way you can learn culture is by being exposed to it. But if you want I would say like a semi smooth transition, you um, might want to try Greece. And if anybody has in the chat, because I've only left from Qatar, Turkey, and Rome. Suggestions of like what are some good international jumping points for international cruising if that you found easy for like maybe a first time going abroad. I think Barcelona is maybe not the city, but I appreciate at least Barcelona is like 20 minutes from Barcelona cruise port is like 20 minutes from the airport. But I haven't navigated Barcelona yet to like give you a perspective about like culturally how it is. Even though I had a friend who just got back from Barcelona over summer, he loved it. But I like to be able to say for myself for sure. So chime in the chat. Do you all have any recommendations for first time cruise somewhere that's not in Florida? We're the springboard for international destinations. Excuse me. Mickey's Adventure says cruising is my best way of travel and making sure I get the most out of the ports I visit. I do throw in a couple of days before to do some tours and get most of the ports destinations. That's awesome. Yep, doing a couple of days before, doing a couple of days after so that you get a little more time to experience things. You even can, particularly in places in Europe, Amsterdam has a wonderful train system. So you literally can get to so many other places. Actually, a few places like between London. I literally set up a client over the summer. Where did they go? They did London, they did Paris and Amsterdam. They did London, Paris, and Amsterdam by train over a course of a week. Now, they weren't at each location very long, maybe 2 days at each spot. But Europe has really good train travel. So even if you decide to cruise, tap on a bunch of destinations, you can do land-based and go, train, and it's relatively cheap, easy to navigate. And people will help you in the train stations. Big Murph's Life said, hey there, see what's seeing everyone chat. Welcome in, Murph. I also see my cruising family is here. Lisa T that says, I love your haircut. Thank you, Lisa T. It's so funny because after each light that I'm in, it shows differently. So like I've seen pictures where it looks red and then tonight it looks like brown. I can't call it. Mo Taylor says, I just finished my first ever solo cruise and it was awesome. Congratulations. So okay, now you got to spill the details. What was your first solo cruise? Were you the one that was on Symphony of the Seas with the big bad suite? Was that you, Mo? We have DJ and Danielle, who her first, I believe, international cruise experience was Greece on Virgin Voyages. Is that right? She says she is looking to trying some international ports. I have worn Nassau out. Totally understand. I think I'm gonna feel like that finally this summer. Not this summer, in about a month or two. I am literally I'm doing a back-to-back in October. And I'll make that trip announcement in October. But I'm literally going between Nassau and a private island. Oh no, I lied. I'm going like in Bimini. So which Bimini would be a good one because I need to do some research for the group cruise I'm hosting with Jim because I'm responsible for planning that excursion. But yeah, DJ and Danielle Experience Signature Solo Cruise and I, we are hosting the ultimate solo group cruise where we are going celebrity reflection. We are doing Bimini and oh Lord, I used to know my ports. Too many cruises. Somewhere else. It's not Nassau and Bimini, is it? I don't forgot what the ports are. But that is June 22nd to 26th, 2026. And there'll be activities for everyone. We already have that curated. So if you're interested in celebrity, join us. Who else? Folks are speaking to Jen. Mickey Zementra says, we did Abu Dhabi while we were in Dubai for 2 days. It was pretty doable. Like C said, you can do it about 45 minutes away. Absolutely. So yeah, if you want to, again, cruising Dubai and Abu Dhabi will be 2 separate stops. But if you do land based, you can literally go between the two for a cheap bus. It's literally 45 minutes away. So it's all about like what what experience you want. The Traveling Talls. Hi, welcome in. Thanks for being here. They says, hi, everyone. Internationals on the bucket list, and I'm definitely taking notes. Yes, because I see you have a family. So something also to think about is like how easy it will be to navigate with little ones. So for you all may want to consider, again, either setting up the pre-cruise transportation or again, picking a cruise port picking an international cruise port that's close to the airport. And again, I think Barcelona, 20 minutes away. And I think Turkey wasn't too bad from the airport. Whereas I think, Piraeus and Chetivikia, just a little further away from the airport, but because they are big, well-known, I guess, cruise ports, there's definitely a lot of transportation options and people will know exactly where you are going. Where again, like I was telling y'all, Doha, my cab driver pulled up. I mean, my Uber driver pulled up, and even though that the what is it called address was in the GPS, he still needed some coaching about like go to this ship, go this way, talk to security. So on the go with Yellow says yes, and the airlines will turn the lights off after they feed you. Now you know what, Yellow? It's been interesting in my travels to see like the evolution of long haul flights. So I remember my first pretty much international flight as an adult was to Paris. So it was like I think 6.5 hours or so. Paris is from DC, or maybe 8, I can't remember. But I swear, YOLO, back like they did not, and that was like 2011, 2010, 2009, somewhere in that range, right? And it was pretty much like if you weren't in first class, it felt like they didn't turn them lights off until like maybe the last 3 hours. Now, they definitely like, I feel like those planes get up in the air. As soon as they can level out, they start in that beverage cart, they start in the food cart, and they're turning everything off. They're making sure the shades, a lot of the airlines now can control like the window tinting so that you get like a deeper sleep. So it's definitely has become a better experience internationally, because I'm like, they used to not turn them lights off quick, but now after you're done eating, baby, them lights are going off. And they do better with the trash pickup, because it was one point that I was literally like, how do I navigate between having this tray down, this extra food, etc.? It's just J. Renee says she likes both types of travel. Fine. Absolutely. And today, y'all, we are talking about Let's Go International. We are talking about things to consider when you are cruising from destinations that aren't Florida. There are some considerations that you might just want to be mindful of when you are going to international ports. Some are very easily accessible. Some aren't. Some are very industrial. So we're just talking about those things I've observed in I think it's been 3 cruises so far that have not left from like Florida. And those been, I've cruised from Turkey, I've cruised from Rome, and I've cruised from, now I'm forgetting the third one, Turkey, Rome, and Doha. Old lady problems. It's Just Jay Renee says, my longest flight was 19 hours from NY to Singapore, and it was the best flight I've ever taken. Did you take Singapore Airlines? Because I've heard Singapore Airlines a little more expensive, but basically everything is almost like premium economy. Like all the seats are well spaced, adequate recline, that kind of thing for Singapore Airlines. The longest flight I have taken was in Newark? I think it was either the Atlanta to Johannesburg route or the Newark, Atlanta to Johannesburg route on Delta, or the Newark to Cape Town route on United. Have been, and we're talking 15 or 16 hours in the air. I think we hit a jet stream. We got 14 and a half one time. But you up there for a whole long time, and you're like, yo, that's when you praying you have good sweet mates, or seat mates, or yeah, can make it a long flight. Mickey's Adventure says, I did the transatlantic twice. Now I want to get on transatlantic. I want to do a transatlantic. I just got to find the right time to do it. They said they're looking forward to doing Trans-Pacific. Fortunately, I was able to get about 5 to 6 ports for my transatlantic, which I has not been able to. I was able to get about 5 to 6 ports for my transatlantic, which I have not been able to find again yet. Yes, transatlantics. I'm seeing people say, like, again, Travel Yes We See is heading to or from somewhere in Spain, and they said they had 7 sea days back to back. So it seems like they are just trying to like get you there. My cruising family is asking the same question, like, is this Singapore Airlines, girl? Sig says, I am about to experience my first port heavy cruise in January. A port every day. I'm gonna see that, girl. Sig, we cannot wait to see those vlogs because you need your like reset moments. So it's gonna be interesting to see if you end up taking all those port stops or if you decide like you're gonna take a pause for the cause. Yes, was just about to recommend Singapore Airlines. It was such a good experience. Good to know. Yeah, I was actually, I canceled it, but I was looking at, I had Disney Adventure booked. And because again, I was telling folks I was going to be in Asia for Labor Day next year. So I had a friend who was doing like 3 or 4 different Asian countries for their birthday. And so I was like, well, cool. I'll just tag on Disney Adventure 3 or 4 days. It was 4 days before meeting up with the group. And then I kind of did some of the math on days off. And I was just like, we'll figure another time. But I've been wanting to go to Singapore. I saw a glitch fare for Singapore for like $300 back in the day. But just have not made it there yet. But good to know, because I was actually thinking like if I do that route, I would come just instead of doing out of DC, I would go up to New York and fly out of New York just so I can do that Singapore Airlines, that 19-hour holla. On a go yellow says, I would love to ferry hop. There are a couple islands the cruises don't stop. Right. For sure. Now I have been down an Instagram rabbit hole where I've been seeing some of these, like some of the crazy ferry rides, but it seemed like the stop when I did the Disney Fantasy, Piraeus or Athens was a port stop. And I ended up going on an excursion. Even though I had been to Athens, I did like a beach club excursion. So the bus, when it was taking us outside of the port, you could see all the ferries lined up, and they seem to come and go, pretty frequently. And at each cruise port during that cruise, since it was a Greek Isle cruise, we would frequently be in port with the ferries. So it seems doable. It's definitely like a light packing situation though. Oh, y'all are laughing at my nonsense the last time we got a donation. Thanks again, Will, for contributing to the channel. Yellow says, yes, that is good to know about Singapore Airlines. Yes, definitely very clean, very spacious airline. If you're ever going international to Singapore, you can get some direct routes out of New York. And then again, I think the whole setup in the plane is basically like a premium economy experience. Mickey's Adventure says, I love port intensive cruises when I do international cruising. I also love to have a couple sea days every now and then. My favorite, and again, I think now I'm more like cruising for ship and cruising for like relaxation ish. I love that good old like 1 or 2 sea days at the beginning, sandwich my port days in the middle, and have 1 or 2 sea days at the end. That is my like, those are like becoming my favorite itineraries because I want to be able to decompress when I get on the ship, and I want to be able to decompress getting off the ship. But I do want to do and see some things like in the middle. Yola says, I heard Barcelona is good. I was just, and seeing for Barcelona, I was on an open jaw cruise. So we left from Turkey and we ended in Barcelona. But we got to Barcelona that first night late. I think we didn't pull into port until like 9 o'clock. There was something wrong with the gangway. And I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to like go out and explore Barcelona at 9 o'clock. Even though we were overnight in port, we were getting off the next morning. So, but I did appreciate, I think the port looks like a port. Like it seems like, some stuff is around it, even though I think there's like some military stuff close by. But I really love that you can get into and from that airport like 20 minutes. So no crazy, like, it's a good airport or a good cruise, possibly like if only thing you got is those early morning, quick 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock flights. Not that you should be doing that, but if you need to do it, you might want to consider like Barcelona. Big Murph says, from what I've heard, MSC will let you know if you will make it over there. I think they have the largest European crowd on their ships. Mickey's Adventure says, Barcelona is a great cruise port. I stayed for a week and cruised for 7 nights. We navigated as locals. Good to know, because I've been hearing like mixed things about Barcelona. And my homeboy, because remember, like everybody at that one point, they were saying like, what was it, Spain, Barcelona in particular, were like harassing travelers. He said that's not happening anymore. He had to explain it to me. He said basically what happened was, right during the pandemic, a lot of people were moving to like Spain, Barcelona in particular, to the point that it was driving up the cost of living. So he said when people started protesting and you were seeing those videos of people like throwing water at people and saying tourists don't come, that kind of shenanigans, he said it happened so intensely that it had the opposite effect where people started saying don't go to Barcelona. So he recently went over this summer and he was just like, no, it's calmed down. They're very welcoming of tourists. It just was, I guess it went from one swing of this pendulum to the next, where it was like, we don't want no tourists. The word got out, people stopped coming, and then it was like, wait, we actually want we actually want some tourism, and some of the funds for it. So I heard Barcelona is okay to go visit now, good folks. Just be mindful of the pickpocketers, as you should in most places. Mickey's Adventure says, on to go yellow, Southampton. Okay, we got a new port in the chat. Southampton was a pretty good port destination. I just felt like I didn't have enough time, though we did a lot of tours. Excuse me, I see that now. Though we did a lot of tours, I would be interested in cruising out of, like, I enjoy Amsterdam as a city, but I didn't get to see their cruise port. I'll be curious to see what it would be like to cruise out of Amsterdam for sure. And then when I went to, but I can't say those are easy to navigate. When I went to Denmark, I ended up near the cruise port, but I can't say how easy it is to navigate from the airport to the cruise port. I do know there's a train, and then you could probably, but yeah. I did see, but it was cool to see the cruise port in Denmark. Who else we got here? Mo Taylor says, yes, that was me on Symphony. Your advice was right on time. No problem, Mo. No problem at all. Yola D says, have you been to Barbados, the land of Rihanna, yet? The answer is no. I have not been to Barbados yet. Now, that is something that I want to do better with. Because I like new ships and I like big ships so much, I have not done a ton of, trying different ports. But I have Barbados. I think if I actually paid for this one, I think Barbados is on this one cruise that I have a hold on. I have St. Bart, Tortola, Antigua, Anguilla. No Barbados, but I think I'm going on. I think Barbados is on this one cruise that I have a hold on. I have St. Bart, Tortola, Antigua, Anguilla. No Barbados, but I think I'm going on. I think Barbados is on this one cruise that I have a hold on. I have St. Bart, Tortola, Antigua, Anguilla. No Barbados, but I think I'm going on I'm trying to think. I think the Melanin at Sea one for next year, 2027, might stop. Yep, in Barbados. So it looks like I probably won't be stopping in Barbados until 2027. I do want to try some more of the Caribbean. What is it? The different islands in the Caribbean. I think that does have my interest peaked. But I can't seem to get off the like new big ships that keep going like Nassau and their private islands. So all I just say, not yet, but I have it. I have it on the books for 2027. So come back and I can let you know what I think then. Hopefully, I'm hoping it's more to do in Barbados than like see like Rihanna's house. I may need to watch more videos, but I feel like every video I watch is like, we're at Rihanna's house. We're back on the ship. So hi, Tanya Brooks. This is a new name. Tanya Brooks Self-Care and Support for Caregivers says, hello, everyone. First time here. Welcome in, Tanya. Glad that you popped through. On the go, yo, says I go over a few days ahead. Yeah, I maybe need to do that a little more. I'm kind of like I just want to get on the ship, I think. So whenever I'm cruising to a new destination, I'm kind of just like, this is a cute place, but where's the ship? Even though like I could go back to Turkey, for sure. I want to do more exploring of Turkey, but I literally like picked a hotel right by the cruise port. And as soon as they said like the earliest I can get on the ship, I was on the ship. So totally understand that whole like exploration. And I think the way that I like stack my leave, I'm just like, go home. Just J Renee says, yes, Singapore Airlines is premium economy through the whole plane, y'all. The whole plane is premium economy. It was so comfortable. Yes, somebody I met on Conquest, the sailing that I did for I can't remember her channel name, but her and her husband, he does airplane reviews and she does like just the regular travel. And he did a review of Singapore Airlines. It was like on his like plane bucket list. He wanted to experience it. On the go, yo says, I want to go to Singapore since I saw Crazy Rich Asian. Fair. Yeah, I missed out on my window to go to Singapore. I could have went to Singapore with having housing covered because I had a friend who was working in Singapore for like a couple of years actually, and never took him up on the offer. But I definitely want to. It's like on one of the places on my list I want to go to. I think Disney Adventure is going to be like my what is it called, excuse to get to Singapore. Because I can just see me. I'm going to be cool after 2 days, and I'm like, okay, put me on a ship. And I think I saw like there's a Royal Caribbean cruise I could tag onto there too. So Will says, I hate when my last day on the ship is a port day. No time at all to decompress. None at all. None at all. I'm definitely loving those itineraries that sandwiches the sea days. Particularly you give me 2 sea days at the end of a cruise, I am sold. On the go, yo says, yes, facts. I like that last day to rest and level set to go home. Cool. Cheryl S, welcome in, Cheryl. She says, I love Barcelona. Okay, now that's on my list. Definitely got to squeeze the Barcelona cruise in. Says, I had a few days after my cruise. It wasn't enough time. Would do a land-based trip in the future. Because where else after you're in Barcelona, where else can you springboard to on land that's close to Barcelona? There's one thing I do love about Europe is like you can kind of hop on that train and you can be anywhere in like 3 hours. Janice World says, I had a discussion about going to Greece with friends. I want to cruise and they do not. I'm not sure I want a ferry hop with luggage over there. I feel like we'll be living out of our suitcases. Yeah. And I feel like if you do island hopping, watching some of those videos, like it seems like you want to do a carry-on situation, like you want to be a bit of a minimalist. It's definitely one of those rules. It seems like only pack what you can carry. At least like maybe I just saw some like maybe those are the cheap ferries. I don't know. Maybe it's a little better for a more expensive ferry. But I've been sharing because YOLO. I was when I did the Greek Isles cruise. I was texting YOLO, kind of like, dang, like I want to kind of island hop. And then I started like looking at some, I guess, ferry information, and it was like scaring me a little. Not scaring me, but it was giving like, if you do island hopping in Greece, you just can't do it with anyone. Like you gotta have those people. It gotta be your traveler friends who like are okay with getting a little gritty, possibly like can navigate, can move and shake. Because even looking at those lines for the ferry in Athens, like even starting with the line situation, like It seemed like it's a line, but it's not really a line. I don't know if they really run on time. I don't know. Maybe there's a better ferry, but it looks kind of like you gotta be about that life to Greek Island hop. At least using their ferry system. I don't know. Somebody who has done it, let me know if I clocked that right or wrong. On the go, Yellow says, I think the small ship to the Caribbean would be to those islands less traveled. Barbados, St. Lucia, yeah. And see, St. Lucia was a place I've done land based. I have no desire to go back to St. Lucia. It was cool. It was St. Lucia was a one and done for me. Definitely worth experiencing, but I did land based. It just was kind of like, all right. And they don't have like they have the green, like they have the clear water, but I'm a blue turquoise kind of water girl, bit of a sea snob. My cruising I'm not particular about a whole lot of things, but I like my Caribbean water. It's just they're all not the same. My cruising family says you can cruise from Guadeloupe and hit TNT, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, and lots more. Because then that was Extreme Adventures did that one, right? You have assignments for Barbados. Regina says, I fell in love with Barbados. Felt like I was home. Good to know. Good to know. But what are the beaches like? That's what I want to know. So let me see. Okay, so let's, before I get back into the comments a little more, let's go through Celestial Journey. So I told y'all it left from Doha. I really love Doha. Doha is a place I can go back a bunch of more times and still experience something new. I told y'all navigating to the cruise port, just be prepared for like the cab driver or your Uber driver may not really understand the concept of like cruise ship. So you might want to have the what is it called? The address printed out, picture of which one you're going to. I will say, which I'm putting out a video on my Doha pre-cruise experience. I might, if I were to cruise out of Doha again, because outside of Celestial, I saw Mine She 4 was like by TUI was like following us around from place to place, and that was a bigger ship. I will say I would probably put out a video of my pre-cruise hotel, but in the back or in that video, I also kind of show some other cruise hotels that are hotels that are close to the cruise port in Doha. So I'll be sure to point those out in those videos because maybe those hotels, any transportation coming to and from that, they might understand because it's close to the port that, that's where you're going. Phil and D's travel spree is in the building. Welcome in, Phil and D. Mickey says, I love my last cruise day is a sea day. Yes, absolutely. Trish says, I was disappointed. Oh, yeah. So Trish was supposed to be, if those of you haven't heard, Disney Adventure I was not expecting a Disney delay at all. And it's funny, Trish, because I actually had I think I had like the January 4th through 7th. Initially, I had January 4th through 7th booked on sorry, I heard something weird. I think my neighbor's cats were doing something weird back there. Anywho, I initially had, I think, Disney Adventure booked out of Singapore, I think January 4th through January 1st through the 4th. So, because I was like, I can fly in a couple of days early, be in Singapore for ringing in the new year, get on a cruise ship. So I had the 1st to the 4th, whatever that sailing was, booked. I know they started sailing like December 15th, but I was like, this will be, close enough. And so I ended up canceling that when my friend announced that they were doing birthday for Asia in September, because I'm like, I don't want to fly to that side of the world twice in 1 year. A, I don't want to pay for it, and B, flying now is really rough on my body, and it also can be rough on your pockets if you want to get out of economy and sit somewhere comfortable. Because literally now I'm to the point that I get a bad hip ache, I get a bad shoulder ache, and my legs like kind of swell to the point that it gets really uncomfortable. So I frequently have to like pay for the upcharge. So I was like, let me just like bundle it all and just, do it all in one spot. And I ended up I moved my trip to, what was that, Labor Day? And then, ended up canceling Disney Adventure. But Trish was on was it the inaugural, right, Trish? Selling of the Disney Adventure. And then Disney said that they weren't ready, which I am shocked because it was already the ship. It's already a ship. They just had to outfit it, I guess, in a Disney way. But they pushed it not just back like a month or two. They pushed it all the way back to March. But I also say that, Trisha, I should have just kept my January 1st sailing, because if I didn't change it, I would have qualified for one of the discounts. But planner me changed it, and I missed out on that discount. So hopefully you can get hopefully you can get on another Disney ship. Sorry, the adventure's not happening when you were expecting it. On the go, Yellow says, down for whatever, friends or travel partners for sure. Carry on only. Yes, if you island hop through Greece. Absolutely. Because one of the things I also learned, or like particularly about Mykonos island hopping or being on Mykonos, they have a wonderful bus system for like $2 going through Mykonos, and you can basically like beach club hop for a couple of days. So I was mesmerized by that. I was like, it's pretty cool. They got these little buses that run every day, and like all the way through the night. I think it runs like maybe once an hour through like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, like round clock. So you can hang out and catch the bus. Even I'm sure those late night buses are probably a it show. My cruising family says we did a similar but not same itinerary, left from Guadeloupe back in 2018 on MSC Fantasia. Cool. So yeah. So I mentioned getting to the cruise port. Check it in now particularly for Doha. Because I believe like for Greece, I keep saying Greece, for Turkey and for leaving out of Rome as a U.S. citizen, I didn't need anything extra. I'm trying to think if I remember that correctly. At that time, I'm hearing recently that now there's going to be some, at some point, they finally are going to follow through with that pre-credential into Europe for U.S. Travelers. But going out of Doha, you will need I think you get like a little bit of a transit visa. It's like $25 you can pick up at the airport or at the cruise port. So that was easy peasy. Now, I'm not sure if the other cruise lines are like this, or it was because of the itinerary. But for the GCC, so basically the Gulf Council? Basically, there's a conglomerate of like where Qatar, Abu Dhabi, I should probably Google it. Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Oman, all the places that we visited are kind of in this like consortium of countries, and it's called the GCC. I forgot what it stands for. If somebody wants to put it in the chat, please do. But I had to relinquish my passport, and pretty much now here goes with the whole international reduction in the what is it called? Relaxation factor. And I'm not sure if it's like this. I know it was not like this when I cruised on when I did Regent. But for the GCC, I basically every port I had to go down, pick up my passport, go through immigrations, even if I was not going to go out and tour that day, return them my passport. And I had to do that for at least, I think, a few of the stops. So one morning, I think the morning that we got to Dubai, I was kind of like, I'm gonna sleep in this morning because I've been to Dubai before, so I'm just gonna rest. And it was like, no, you have to get your passport and basically clear the immigration, even if it's just clear and get back on the ship by like 9:30 in the morning. So I say that to say, even if you decide you're going to skip a port, some itineraries, depending on like what countries you are visiting, you might have to do like some sort of immigration process from port to port. So that's going to be the relaxation factor. Is going to be cutting into that again. I mean, now the good part is you get to go to some wonderful places. And I'm not sure if that was like a celestial thing. I'm not sure. But I've also saw the Mayan Chief people were also going through some sort of immigration process too. But depending on your itinerary, you might have to do like some sort of day of visa when you arrive, and you have a short window to do it. So it's not just whenever you decide. It's basically whenever you decide to get off. It's basically you have the window that the officers, I guess the customs immigration officers are going to be in the port. So that's just an FYI. My cruising family says those flights can also be rough on the pockets. Talk about going internationally when you're doing this 4 or 5 times. Yes, Absolutely. I dropped my mom off in Baltimore on Sunday so her to catch a cruise, and I was just like, dang, I need more cruises that I can just drive to. Which I heard at least Norfolk is going to get a bigger cruise ship, as I think in 2027 Carnival Sunshine is circling out, and Carnival Freedom, also known as the No Tail, is coming to Norfolk. So at least I'll get like a bigger ship here. And then there's, I mean, New York is also what is it called? An option for me, which I don't take as much. I probably need to look at New York cruises a little more. Trisha's Timeless Adventure says yes. I was on the maiden voyage and the next. Oh, you were okay. Back to back on Disney Adventure. Love it, love it. And the prices were actually right. Some of those Disney Adventure prices were like what, 13. I mean, when I say right, like right in a Disney aspect. But you know, they were what, 14, 1100, 14, 15-ish $100. So I love it. Trish doing a back-to-back on Disney Adventure. They are giving us a 50% cruise credit. We rebooked for the maiden voyage. Okay, so y'all were able to get on the one in March. Nice. Only go yo says me too, but my pocket does not like business class. I gotta like sprinkle it in every now and then. So like for instance, when I went to, oh no, that wasn't a cruise. I went to where did I go over summer? I went to Portugal over the summer, and I had to stop through. I was on SAS Airlines. I can't remember if I stopped through Denmark both times. So anyway, going there, I decided to stay in economy. I just had what is it called? I did an exit row seat. Now coming back, because I knew like, okay, I'll be asleep. It's only 8 hours. When you're coming back, the flight will always be longer. And usually when you're coming back, the flight is going to be in daylight. So it's a longer flight, and two, a lesser chance for rest because you're flying with the lights. Even because sometimes people just leave their, what is it called? Shades up, whatever. So I did, and that video will be coming out. I upgraded on my way back from Portugal to SAS business class. And yes, it was probably the cost of like a little baby cruise, $600 to upgrade, but my legs, my back, my hip, and my stomach all appreciated it, because I do love being able to have the elevated food and drinks in business. And actually Scandinavian Airlines was they were actually pretty good in the customer service department, at least in business class. It was a little sketch in economy. At least the one lady that I had was kind of like, I don't know, talking to me like I ain't never flew before. Like literally I had as you all know, when you're in exit row, like you can't put anything on the floor by your feet. So as soon as I get on the plane, like, I mean, she was hawking me. I literally put my book bag down so I can organize myself. And like, I swear, y'all, like the bag had touched the ground for like maybe 2 seconds. And she came up and she was like, it can't go there. And I was like, chill out. Like, I just need a moment to like organize myself. And then something else she came back through. I don't know, but it was just kind of like, ma'am, like, why are you focused on me? Like everything I'm a rule follower. Everything's gonna be situated. I just need a moment to get myself together. Regina says it's the Gulf Corporation Cooperation, the Gulf Cooperation Council. Yes, the Gulf Cooperation. So I basically sailed the GCC, and I sailed specifically Bahrain, Oman. We left out of Qatar, and then United Emirates, which was, we did Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Now, for some of you all, I am hearing that Saudi Arabia is going to be the place to keep your eye on in regards to travel developments. You want to try something new? They're slowly, like, I believe I was watching Karen Nate. They like just opened up a resort. I think they're planning on expanding it. I think Karen Nate was saying at the time the resort did not have, because they are very strict, alcoholic offerings. I believe they may be expanding to like wine and beer at some point. So kind of, acquiescing to Western travel norms, which is not the thing to keep your eye on about the Western travel norms, but the fact that they're building out a tourism industry a little more in Saudi Arabia. I've been hearing that it's a possible next, like, what's the next up and coming destination, and folks are saying keep your eye on Saudi Arabia as there's some development happening there. Capri says, "Oh, okay. I like a check-in when you enter their cities." Yes, but the thing is, because it was cruising, it's kind of like I was like, "Oh, dang, like cool. I get to like sleep in today." And no, they literally got on that dang on microphone. I think you see it in my video at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I tried to ignore it, but they kept going. They kept making announcements like every 20 minutes saying, get your you need to come downstairs, reclaim your passport, you need to walk through customs. And they did it like every 20 minutes until we got there. And then we basically had until 9:30. So if you think about cruising, like how many of you are, now some of us are, but how many of you are usually out of your bed by 9:30 on a cruise a.m. on a cruise ship? Some are, some aren't. And then add the jet lag factor, where it's kind of like you might usually be out of the bed by 9:30, but now you got this whole jet lag factor. I was not a happy camper that first day. I had to go reclaim my, particularly because that day I wasn't doing an excursion. So I thought I was going to relax, and no, wasn't happening. On a go yellow says, I've actually considered staying an extra night in the city I cruise from in Europe so I can get that first thing out so I can get home earlier. Listen, I pulled a real close one. Do not recommend that you do this. I feel like Rome, I might have had like an 11:30 flight back home, but I talked to Disney Cruise Line. It was something crazy. And I was worried because everybody was saying Rome has limited taxis. And if you get a taxi, because I would have been solo, it was going to be like an arm and a leg. Well, I went to go talk to guest services at Disney, and the lady was just like, "Oh no, you'll be fine." She said basically, they'll fill up the as soon as the bus fills up, it starts heading to Rome. Because sometimes they do it by like time frame. She was just like, "No, just make sure you're like one of the first people, just off the ship." And sure enough, I was on that first bus that left Rome, and I got to the airport in plenty of time to catch I think I had something wild. I want to say it might have been 10:49. It might have been like 11:30. It was definitely before 1 p.m. It was whatever they recommend you not do. And again, I recommend you not do it. Because I solo travel so frequently, I could move pretty quickly because it's just me. And I also was like prepared in the case that like, whatever, have a black backup plan. But it was funny. I actually did not get on that flight, and I got an $1,100 voucher for waiting another hour or so. I gave up my seat on that 11 o'clock, that early, whatever that early flight was. I gave my seat, and I got $1,100 voucher over this summer for waiting for one more hour. And they gave me a better flight. I didn't have to connect through Chicago. I was able to connect through, or was it straight? I can't remember. It was straight route back home, or I connected in New York. But it ended up being a come up because I didn't have to fly past DC. I just flew. I can't remember if it was to Dallas or what, but I think it was New York. Yeah, it was New York. So I was able to fly. They gave me a flight to New York, and I just had to come down. Trish says we stopped in Dammam, Saudi Arabia on the MSC cruise from Dubai, and it was amazing. Oh, cool. What to do in Dammam? That's cool. Good to know. Mickey says we cruised through Vietnam. Ooh, now now I would be curious because I'm kind of like talking about how like a pain in the butt I feel like some of the international cruise ports can be, but I'm curious. Are like, is it cruising through Asia as like industrial as cruising through Europe? Like, is it kind of like here's a cruise ship, here's a town, or is it the same amount of like you got to get on a shuttle? They said we probably would have been able to do it all at once, but the info and details were in the cloud. No problem. On the go, Yellow says we had to have a special card of sorts. Yes, thank you, Yellow. So yes, so Istanbul cruise port. Did they take our passports? I think they took our passport. So you relinquish your passport to the cruise line, but you get this little funny looking card. I think that's what it was, right? Yellow. And you just had to keep it with you. And then that helps you. And then once you had that, you could just pass back and forth through that gate all night long. even though some people said, even though you had all night long access, somebody who was on Region was kind of like, they thought they could do all night long, and they said they had like wait in the terminal for a little bit. I guess one of the guards like wandered away. I don't know, but Mickey says, if I remember correct, we have to have our passports to get back on. Oh, Yola says no, they didn't take our passport. Okay, maybe I don't know. I can't remember. So okay, I never. Now that you mentioned it, Yellow, I remember they gave us that little card, but I couldn't remember if we like relinquished our passport or not. So cool. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, so briefly hitting on, got on Celestial to do. I think our first stop was Bahrain. That was a very industrial cruise port, as you saw in the video. I don't know if I got or not, but so about the time I got on the ship, because I didn't do any pre-planning ahead of time. All the excursions were sold out. And I will say Celestial gave us like a 75 euro, something like that, excursion credit. But anywho, for Bahrain, because I was like, I was gonna at least do an excursion, a planned excursion in the places that I had not been yet. So for Bahrain, I was like, oh, yay, new place. Well, all the excursions were sold out in Bahrain, but the lady was like, oh, it's really easy. You can catch a cab. Well, when I got the shuttle, again, industrial cruise port, so you got to catch a shuttle. The shuttle took us to where the cabs were lined up. And I don't know if they were telling me the truth or not, but pretty much the cab was just like, it's a holiday. I can't turn on the meter. And in my head, and who said it? I think was that YOLO. Somebody was basically like, no, Anna Q. Anna Q was like, so if it's a holiday, you can't turn on the meter. Like, why are you here working? But anyway, I was kind of like gonna give up because I'm like, am I getting like somebody get me to hit me with the okie doke or like what? But I was kind of like, Carly, when is the next time you're gonna be in Bahrain? So I sucked it up, and for pretty much like the price of, I gave him for tip and like my own private excursion. We made several stops. I actually was just kind of like, he wanted to take me to a couple more places, and I was just like, I'm good. It's lunchtime. Take me back to the ship. But for my own private excursion, I paid $120, and that included his tip. I think it was cheap. It was a little cheaper than that, but I think with tip included, it ended up being $120. But definitely you want to consider possibly getting a ship excursion to avoid that. And usually I'm pretty good at like negotiating in the hustle. Them men were not backing down. They were not backing down off of me. It was just kind of like, you a lady, you by yourself. We ain't turning this thing on. They even tried to get the police. They got a police officer like that was going to convince me. And I'm like, yeah, he's in on it too. So that was Bahrain. It was pretty much there to see was their national, not a ton to do there, at least where like, in the media area. He took me to the National Museum, which was cool to see just like kind of the history of like how Bahrain was settled. I mean, it's pretty much rocks and desert. We went to their like Grand Mosque, and we went to this fort that kind of protected the city as it was I guess through the, what is it called, protect the city from the waterway or whatever that's connected to, I guess, the Gulf. So I didn't pass geography well. So that was Bahrain. So it was kind of like, all right, cool to see. Then we went to Dubai. And I had already been, but I did a hop on hop off bus because I wanted to get content for y'all just to show you. And there were some new developments in Dubai. Abu Dhabi, I stayed on the ship. After, I think, was that the day that I was mad because I had to get up and like scan my passport or whatever, but stayed on the ship for Abu Dhabi. And then went to Oman, which was cool. Oman, I thought we were having like a little pirate situation because there were these guys on these like small boats that were like zipping back and forth between the cruise ships. Well, it ended up being Iran is, I think, 60 or 90 miles or something like that, or maybe it was kilometers, whatever. It's basically a 3-hour boat ride, I think, from Oman to Iran, and they basically bring goods back and forth. But the biggest thing for that was to like sell their largest fjord. or fjord. I think take out the J. Fjord, which was very relaxing. We saw some dolphins. It was kind of scenic, but again, places to like check off the country's list. Like, yay. I think that was country like 39, 38, and 39 at that point. But maybe it would have been better. I would say that like if you do that, the GCC, like maybe try to get some excursions coordinated. Because it just didn't feel like a ton to do, but the stuff that I saw was worth seeing. I don't know if I'll break my neck to go like back. Now, Serbani Yas was very cute. But it was just too cold to get in the water. Bring some swim shoes for Serbani Yas for sure. All right, wrap up these last comments. Trish says, in Dammam, I did a cruise excursion. It was a barbed wire fence at the port. Oh, Lord. And then it was sand dunes. But after that, the Heritage Center shopping eating on the oil museum. Oh, that sounds intimidating. Mickey says the card wasn't certified that you had gone through the customs process. I guess. Yes. But we were able to, okay, so we were able to keep our passport. So then was it like, so I think, yeah. So then was it that we didn't have to, they didn't take our passport in Istanbul, but we didn't have to show it again? Was that how it worked? Trying to remember. Old lady problems. It was a year ago. And Yellow says, I hope to get to that part of the world in 2028, 2026, and 27. Bucket list trips are already planned. Cool beans. So hopefully that gives y'all some insight, for, I don't want anyone like, it catches anybody by surprise. I definitely think see the world any way that you can. I think cruising is the easiest way to do that, but sometimes flying in allows you to get possibly a deeper perspective than cruising, but cruising gives you a really great overview of, places. And it helps you learn about the infrastructure a little bit too, so that maybe you can go back and extend via land. A few closing announcements, as you all see here. I mentioned it a little earlier. If you are looking for, opportunity to sell, travel with me, or looking for some groups that you can tag onto, some experiences that you may not have done yet, we have the Jen Danielle Experience, Sig the Solo Cruiser, and myself. We are hosting the ultimate solo group cruise, even though it's open to everyone. June 22nd through 26th, 2026. So we are having a pre-cruise meetup. So if anybody's in the Fort Lauderdale area, that June 21st time frame, you're more than welcome to, come say hello. But we are hopping on Celebrity Reflection on June 22nd through 26th. And we are heading to Perfect Day. That was the one that I forgot. We're heading to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, probably doing that lovely hideaway experience, and then hopping over to Bimini. And basically, if you haven't experienced Celebrity, you want to experience Celebrity with a cool group of solo cruisers, join us next year. Then in 2027, I know y'all like 2027. Yes, y'all, the best deals are, nice and far out. It gives you opportunity to, plan appropriately, pay down on it, plan your finances. We are hosting the ultimate to land and sea, and you can scan those QR codes there to communicate. But that's hosted with a few of us, and we are going to take the time to enjoy New Orleans from May 14th to 15th. And then Carnival is bringing in a new ship. So the Valor is leaving, and the Dream, which will be recently out of dry dock, is heading to what is it called? To New Orleans. This one will be those of you who like the sea day sandwich. So the itinerary where it's a sea day, a port, and a sea day. Well, we are have a sea day, head to Cozumel, sea day, and then we're back in New Orleans. We're going to spend 2 days in New Orleans enjoying all of their food, music, culture before hopping on a ship. And these are the 6 of us hosting, so you can book through any of us. I think we got about a good, both of these cruises, this one and that one, so far about 20 cabins who are booked this one. But you can book through me, Sig the Solo Cruiser, Rockwell from MH Family Adventure, Siobhan from Parkers on the Go, Kiki from Team Reach Travels, or Regina from the Travel Savvy Hub. Now, I know it's a bunch of ladies hosting, but anybody can come. It's just that these are ladies who actually do the booking. So there will be some men folk. Don't y'all worry. I know y'all saying we need a little testosterone in the mix. Got you. Then we have the Good Gov Getaway 2026 is going to be eating and drinking around the world at Epcot Food and Wine Festival. That one is a meetup, so come meet me in Orlando. You can book it through me, or you can book it however you want to. Information will be coming out. You can scan that QR code. That's October 9th through 11th, 2026. So basically during that Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day holiday, maximize your PTO and head on down to Orlando. It rhymes. And then for 2027, I have announced the Good Gov, which is go on vacation and get away for 2027. And we are cruising from NYC, talking about not having to fly to a cruise port. For some of us, we are heading to from NYC to Bermuda on Norwegian's new Prima Plus class ship, which is Norwegian Prima. Norwegian Luna is a Prima Plus class ship. We're getting on Norwegian Luna. And I think Norwegian has some of the best food experiences on the high seas, as well as the best spa on the high seas. So we'll get to explore this ship. As in, this is another sea day sandwich where we enjoy the ship for a day and a half, pull into Bermuda, enjoy this in Bermuda for a day and a half, and then we are another day before getting back to New York. This one, I already have 3 cabins booked, so it's coming along nicely. And that's again October 7th through 12th. So that will be a Thursday to a Tuesday. You don't have to use a whole bunch of your leave. And I believe that's also over the Columbus / Indigenous Peoples Day holiday. So hopefully you all can, all of you are like, see, when can I travel with you? When are you going to travel? Where are you going? Those are your options. Email me or scan the code. All right, here are our last few comments. Who we got here? Okay, talking about going to that part of the world. All right, Miss City says, okay, Luna in 2027. Yes, hopefully y'all can join. You NYC Northeasterners. And on the go, y'all end with a positive note saying, good night, have a great week. Thank you, YOLO. Have a great week. It's See It With C. Thanks for chatting with me. Make sure you're back here next Monday. Hopefully I can make it a live stream. Not live stream. I hope I can have a video out to premiere to y'all. I was having too much fun at the Hampton Howard game, which Howard beat us. Lord have mercy. After 8 consecutive years of losing, Howard University finally beat Hampton University. So I was having too much fun this weekend. But hopefully next Monday there will be a video premiere. But hit those notification bells, and content is coming soon. It's See What See. Thanks for chatting with me. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Good night.